To the midnight hour, all the way we go, we go. All the way, we're gonna fly out and run it wild until the midnight hour.
The lights out, I feel you, you're inside of this room, you're close by, I can't move, paradise at the side of you. You walk up, your hands out, I stand up, my guard's down, you whisper in my ear.
The Strange News. I'm Guy Ticker. Area 51 is real. Former CIA agent shares UFO confession on his deathbed. He made claims about the infamous Area 51. He said he'd seen UFOs in the flesh and confirmed the existence of extraterrestrials. He gave the sensational interview after allegedly being warned to stop sharing confidential information, as he thought he would soon pass away. He claimed that he was taken to Area 51 to look at items allegedly found and retrieved by the U.S. government. He claimed among them was a flying saucer that crashed and landed in July 1947 in Roswell, New Mexico. Stowaways make an 11-day, 2,000-mile voyage clinging to a ship's rudder. Spain's Maritime Rescue Service said it rescued 3 stowaways found on a ship's rudder in the Canary Islands after the vessel sailed from Nigeria. The men found on the Athene 2 oil tanker at Las Palmas port appeared to have symptoms of dehydration and hypothermia and were taken to hospital on the island for medical attention. The Salvamento Maritimo said,
Who's friends with all the night dreamers talking to you at night? Gary on the radio, but maybe he's not in sight. Bigfoot's on his tail, flying UFOs, that's right. Gary's talk show radio, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday nights. If you need a friend to talk to, he will always be there. The Night Dreamers talk show will fix your despair. If you want to talk conspiracies, Night Dreamers is for you. Top secret case, alien space, it's Gary with the news. Tune in on the radio, don't let Big Brother know. They're listening to everything, even Gary's late night show. If you need a friend to talk to, he will always be there. The Night Show Dreamers talk show will fix your despair, because Gary's talking to you at night.
You are listening to the legendary Gary Anderson, heard coast to coast and worldwide on Night Dreams Talk Radio. Now available on many radio stations and on your favorite app.
Oh, finally I get him on dial-up.
No.
Oh, shit!
And now, with no more foul language, sorry, I couldn't resist. Here he is, the one, the only Gary Anderson.
Woo! And it is Thursday. And JC, last week you brought a pig in the studio. The week before that, you brought a goat in, and half of my upholstery on some of the chairs in here are half eaten. And now you bring in a rooster. What is going on?
Well, it's early Christmas gift, Gary, but promise me you're not going to do anything bad to him, like hurt him or choke him or anything.
I was thinking about, tomorrow having fried chicken or rooster.
Yeah, well, I'd like to see that. Take a picture. I want to see it.
I don't know, but you keep bringing these farm animals. I don't understand it. Do you have a fetish for farm animals or something?
No, I was trying to critique your needs. I thought you had one.
No, I'm not into goats. I already have a goat. I don't need a pig. I don't, seriously. I mean, I had a ham for, thank you for that beautiful ham, by the way. That's what happened with your pig. That's when you were looking for your pig. We actually, stuck it in the closet, and then we had ham for, Thanksgiving.
Well, it went somewhere. I'm glad it went to got good use. Glad you enjoyed it. But, there's more to come. More to come.
No, I know. Well, what is it going to be? Snakes tomorrow night? I don't know. Well, guess what? We have a fantastic guest. How many of you remember Little House on the Prairie? I do. And who remembers Nellie? I certainly do. And here's some information about Alison.
Alison Arngrim says the New York Times is a different breed of rainbow draped diva. New York Times best-selling author of Confessions of a Prairie Bitch, How I Survived Nellie Oleson and Learned to Love Being Hated, Alison Arngrim is best known to viewers worldwide for her portrayal of the incredibly nasty Nellie Oleson on the much-loved, long-running hit television series Little House on the Prairie, and continues to amuse audiences through her many film, television, stage, and multimedia appearances. Her one-woman show, Confessions of a Prairie Bitch, which started at Club Fez in New York in 2002, has now become a worldwide phenomenon, having been performed to packed houses in New York, Los Angeles, Boston, Chicago, Philadelphia, Green Bay, San Francisco, Seattle, and in France, where Alison performs entirely in French to standing room-only crowds in her all-French version titled Confessions d'un Garce de La Prairie and La Malle aux Tresors de Nellie Oleson. As a stand-up comedian, Alison is headlined at nightclubs such as the Laugh Factory, the Comedy Store, and the Improv in Los Angeles, as well as the Laurie Beachman Theater in New York and assorted comedy venues all across the United States and Canada. She's currently starring in 2 comedy series pilots, Life Interrupted as the ex-wife of commercial child star Mason Reese, with Erin Murphy, Bewitched, as her new wife, and Dawn Wells, Gilligan's Island, as her mother, as well as CPR, Child Performers Resurrection Talent Agency, as an ex-child star gone wrong, trying to save herself and her assorted misfit cohorts by opening a talent agency. Alison has mocked her status as an ex-child star on Jay Leno's Tonight Show during their month-long parody, Hollywood Survivor, and continues to be a frequent interview subject on everything from A&E, E! Entertainment, TV Land, and VH1 to CNN and the Travel Channel. The TV Land network honored her underlying image as TV's worst bitch by declaring her the winner of their 2006 award for, quote, character most desperately in need of a timeout.
Well, Alison, welcome to the show. And are you really a bitch?
In the morning, if I haven't had my coffee, or, generally I'm only a bitch if you pay me to be one. It's a job,
Did you, how did you ever get cast for Little House on the Prairie, or on the Prairie?
Well, it's amazing because I was, I was a kid actor. I had started working when I was 5 years old. And so I'd already worked quite a bit. I'd done some commercials. I'd done a movie called Throw Out the Anchor. It wasn't very good. You didn't miss anything. But I was actually not bad at it. But I did do a movie when I was 10. And I'd been working off and on. And I remember my father actually sat me down at 11 and said, you're not working much this year. Your career might be over. You might not work again, till you're 18. So washed up at 11. And then I read for the part of Mary and for the part of Laura, which makes no sense. I would be totally wrong. Thank God they got Melissa Gilbert and Melissa Sue Anderson. And then they made the pilot. Well, then I get this call back to come back to Paramount now. I, like an idiot, have never read the book, so I'm completely clueless. When they say you'd come back, I'm like, who? How many people are in this thing? And I don't even know there's a Nellie Oleson until I get there and they hand me the script. And I'm sitting there, 12 years old, and I'm sitting there and I turned to my father and I said, this girl's awful. He said, what are you talking about? I said, this is not a normal part. She's a bitch. He said, what are you talking about? So then I read it for him. Well, of course, he starts laughing hysterically because she is completely terrible. And he said, okay, you go in and you read it like that. And I mean, don't change a thing. I mean, don't even look at the damn pages. Just go and read. Well, I went and I read it just like that. And there was Michael Landon and the original producers, Ed Friendly, Ken McRae, and everything. And they could not stop laughing. They asked me to read it again. I said, what do you want me to change? And they said, nothing, just a thing about the house again. And that was it. I was hired on the spot, which is either a testament to my acting or says something about my personality. I've never been sure. But yeah, I was hired on the spot. It was amazing. And I really did. I didn't read the books till as soon as I got the part, I went out and got them. But I had no idea. I went in cold and I went, what's Nellie Oleson? But as soon as I read it, I went, wow, this is a part. This is a role. And so I was very excited about it.
You played it so well, too. And with Melissa Gilbert, playing her part, it was like jealousy between the two of you.
It was one of the great on-screen rivalries. I mean, we just kept it going for years there, and people were really quite convinced we hated each other. I mean, in reality, we're doing the show and smacking each other around and knocking the stuffing out of each other, and then, Saturday night we're at each other's house having slumber parties and watching TV and making brownies, and, we were great friends. We're still great friends. We're like texting each other, and the crazy thing is people thought it was real. I mean, at the time of the show, I remember we were in the supermarket, and I was in a different aisle, and people came up to her to warn her that I was in the supermarket, like she was in danger. And we were at a party at Melissa Gilbert's house. This was as adults. We were well into our 40s, and I'm at a cocktail party at Melissa Gilbert's house, and this woman comes up, and we're chatting away, and she says, "It's so good to see you two getting along." And the look on Melissa's face, she said, oh my God, was there an article in the Inquirer? Did someone say we weren't getting along? Are we supposedly having a feud? What did I miss? And the woman says, well, when you were younger. And finally it sinks in, and Melissa's like, oh my God, you mean on the show? She said, you're a grown woman. You work in the industry. You work in television. And this woman thought it was real. Was shocked that I was at her party.
Well, did any of the publications come out at that time frame and kind of build it up like you were fighting anyway?
Oh, yes. The Inquiry did one that there was a huge feud that Melissa and I were feuding. They did do that once. And when we were quite young, when we were in our late teens, and they did one. And she called me right away and said, ugh, can you believe this thing? I said, what are we going to do? She goes, well, hold on. Let me make a couple of phone calls. She said, go call your publicist. I'll go call my publicist. So she calls me back and goes, what are you doing tomorrow night? I go, nothing. She goes, okay, we're going to go to this club where it's like everybody gets their picture taken. It's just like a total Inquirer hangout. She says, you go get your buddy there, Steve Tracy, who was playing my husband on the show. She says, I'm going to go get Rad, the guy she was dating at the time. She says, we'll go to the club. And so we went down to the club together. And so they got pictures of us hanging out together and partying and having a lovely evening out. And of course, it went everywhere because it says, feuding duo makes up and goes to club.
Oh, wow. Well, you know what? That brought more people. I bet Michael Landon just loved that when that was going on.
Oh, that's the thing is we were so insanely popular. I can't imagine what the show would have been like if we'd been on and the internet had been a thing then. I think we'd have all been in trouble. But that's the thing is it's so weird. It's still going on. Okay, we stopped filming this thing in the 80s. I swear we did, but you wouldn't know it. You go on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and everything now, and people are just obsessed with Little House on the Prairie. Well, we mentioned some of those lovely web series I've been doing in my bio. I had another one I'm on called Living on a Prairie. It's about a woman who's so obsessed with Little House on the Prairie, it's like completely taken over her life, and I play her therapist. Oh, it's quite hysterical. But that's it. People are still obsessed. It's on in 140 countries. It's on multiple channels and cable. And now, of course, it's streaming. It's streaming on Amazon. And, of course, there's DVDs and Blu-ray. So you can just watch it 24 hours a day. You don't even have to wait to look for the channel. You can just download the thing. So people are watching like all 9 seasons back to back. It's absolutely crazy.
You know what was nice about the show? It was the type of show that I could have my kids watch, and we could all sit there and enjoy it. There was no shooting and killing and blood and all this stuff. TV and movies have changed so bad to the point where it's not healthy. And with like Little House on the Prairie,
Yeah.
and shows like the original Andy Griffith Show, Donna Reed, all those type of shows, it was wholesome.
Well, we would do shocking material, but we, of course, handled it in the Michael Landon way. Like, remember the James brothers? Jesse James and his brother kidnapped Mary. It was terrifying. But no, you didn't see people shot and bleeding all over your screen. It wasn't the gore thing. We had episodes about everything from spousal abuse to child abuse to drug addiction to death. We had all sorts of episodes we covered terrifying topics. But it was all done in this cinematic, tasteful sort of manner. So it was, that you could sit there and watch it, and if anything, your family could have a nice conversation. Say, "Well, I'm so glad they talked about that. I'm so glad Michael Landon's dealing. See how the Ingalls handled that. They knew what to do. That's how you handle these things." And it was great, but. Yeah, there used to be this thing, what is it called? You had prime time, and then you had the family hour. And I remember when they instituted it, it was all thing. This section of the evening, like from 7 to 9 o'clock, will be the family hour, and shows airing during that time should be, PG tops. That none of the adult humor shows or violent shows should be airing that hour. You can do after 9 o'clock, after 10 o'clock, y'all can do anything you want. But that there would be sort of this period where the family, you could watch restful TV. Well, we don't have that. I mean, we don't really even have prime time anymore. What is time? The shows now, it's like, when is your show on? When would you like my show to be on? It's everything is streaming, so nothing is on at a particular time or day, which is really kind of mind-bending for people my age who grew up with, like, it's on at 8 o'clock on Monday. Oh, now it could be on any time. So I don't know what people with really young kids do, because the weird TV, it's 24/7. It's not like, well, they're watching cartoons in the afternoon. That'll be okay. No, God knows what's going to be on in the afternoon. So you have to literally monitor 24 hours and go, yeah, okay, here, you're going to watch a DVD. That's what we're unplugging the thing. What are you going to do?
The whole thing is, like you mentioned, streaming. It's not the same anymore. When I was a young kid and a young husband with my kids, it was the 8 o'clock movie was the big one. Like on a Saturday night, Sunday night movie. Good things like that. Oh, what's going to be on?
Disney had their Sunday night program. I always knew it was like, well, last chance to finish my homework. The Disney thing's on.
Well, what was it like working with Michael Landon?
Michael Landon was hilarious. I liked working with Michael Landon. And, over the years, actors have come forward and you'll hear different stories. People say, ooh, he could be really hard. He was a taskmaster and he wanted things done a certain way. And people say, was he like that? And I'll say, well, it depends what day it was. Was it Monday? Was it Tuesday? It's all true. I thought he was one of the funniest people I ever knew before or since. He had the most completely bonkers and childlike sense of humor. And so we'd be doing terribly serious scenes, but he knew that it was hard on people. So when we finished the scene, he'd start cracking jokes, and sometimes just like terrible dad jokes, tasteless jokes, but he would constantly get the crew and the children laughing. And he was very good with us kids. But we were definitely held accountable. You had to be there and hit your mark and know your lines and do your thing, and you couldn't be fooling around. But then when it was time to fool around, he was like just constantly making jokes, and we were having a marvelous time. And we had Christmas parties, and we had the wrap parties, and people had birthdays on the set, and it was very much a family atmosphere. But at the same time, we kids, we were very much treated like actors, and somewhat like the grown-ups. And I remember thinking how refreshing it was for a bunch of kid actors to be treated with, respect and be expected to be able to do their jobs as an actor, and not like, well, they're just kids. We won't expect anything of them. We'll just let them go. I think the way they did in Little House was much better. I think our crop grew up to be much more stable people than a lot of other shows.
Oh, yeah. And, again, a lot of people think the whole show was done on location. Wasn't the majority of it done in the MGM, I believe, studios?
Yeah, we started actually at Paramount and moved to MGM. We started at good old Paramount Studios on the two little sound stages, and we had the entire house. There was a whole little house and barn, whole complete, indoors, with dirt and a little area in a barn. They'd bring horses in on a truck and have them inside the building, because all those nighttime scenes, snow, rain. Oh, when the place was snowed in, they had all this fake snow. There's a great picture that's out on there online, a black and white photo, where there's a guy on a ladder with a box of wax flakes and a guy with a giant fan and the crew all standing around making it snow. So all those blizzards, where were we going to go? So that was all done indoors, and we had all the interior sets. And yeah, most of the stuff we shot it there, but we would go out just outside of LA to a place called Simi Valley, where there's this fabulous place called Big Sky Ranch, where they film everything. They film it. I turn on the TV and I'm flipping channels and I see a feature film and I'm like, and that's Simi Valley. And then there's a TV series. Oh, there's Simi. And then there's an old black and white Audie Murphy film. Oh, look, he's in Simi Valley. Oh, here's a truck commercial. They're in Simi Valley. Everyone is shooting in Simi Valley. They're either at Big Sky or they're at Corriganville. These are like the two ranches that I think like 80% of everything you see is there. And they built a whole little town. There's nothing in those buildings. If you walked into the schoolhouse, it's just empty.
Wait a minute. You're
terrible, Balswood.
You mean all this time, I thought when you went into the store or you went into all that, it was nothing in it?
Not a darn thing. We would dress up the store because it had the big windows so you could see. So they said, quick, you got to get some bolts of cloth and a couple of lanterns in there so it looks like it's a real store. So they'd throw some things on the counter. So if you were shooting through the window, you go, oh, yeah, so that looks great. And they would get fancy and say, well, let's shoot the outside like it's the inside. So you'd have Mrs. Olson in the store, and they'd have the camera come around the corner and through the doors and shoot a little bit in there. And then it's like, cut. But like the school was so completely empty. There's nothing in that schoolhouse out there. So on Monday morning, we might be shooting in Simi, and we'd go running up the church steps. We wouldn't get in the classroom and take our seats till next Thursday.
That is going through a time warp.
It was so confusing because it's like, okay, entering the school, but this is supposed to be Monday, and you're going to go, okay, everybody change your clothes. Okay, now this is the part where you're leaving school, and it's the Friday after you had the fight with so-and-so. You had to keep track of all of this stuff. It was all set out of order. And then days later, we're back at Paramount at the soundstage, and we all come in and sit down, and we go, what was this? Oh, this is right when we came in from that thing where we were out. Oh, that. You had to keep very close track. You'd lose your mind. And so they would shoot that at the hotel set, Nellie's Hotel. They had tables and just so if you saw through the window. But there's no upstairs. Everybody kept going upstairs. I kept going, there's not a darn thing up there. You'd fall through the thing. There's a scene with the Mercantile, and it's in that great episode where I go down the hill in the wheelchair for pretending to be paralyzed. I'm peeking out that window through those drapes.
I remember that.
The little white curtains and like the one blue eye, I'm kind of like a horror movie peeking through that thing. I'm standing on a ladder, and a crew member, a grip, a very nice man, is hanging onto my legs so I don't fall. There is nothing. There is no upstairs. There's no ceiling. There's no floor. There's nothing. There's just the first floor goes into the second floor, and it's all just raw wood and boards. And I'm basically standing on a ladder, peeking out the window and hoping I don't plummet the 2 stories to the floor. And they held my ankles.
Wow. Did it have a roof on it, at least?
Yeah, there was a roof, but that was a great thing. See, back then, we were doing film. I mean, now everything's digital. It's so much easier. I think the advances in digital are great. But the fabulous Panavision film, which looks so nice, oh, man, what pain that was all to shoot. You needed massive amounts of light. Everything had to be very bright. And you had all this enormous equipment, so you couldn't have a regular ceiling. It was very hard to shoot in like a real house. Now with digital, they can just go to somebody's apartment. But then you had to have sets of living rooms where there was no ceiling because you had to have huge lights and all this equipment hanging up above. You had to move all this stuff around, and you could not have a ceiling. So our outdoor buildings, if they had a second floor, if you were on the first floor, you could look all the way up to the beams in the roof because nothing there.
Ah.
And this of course was jarring to people when they would visit the set and go, there's nothing here. This building is completely empty. Yes, there's nothing in the bank. There's nothing in the school. There's nothing, that feed and seed. There's nothing in the feed and seed. And the mill, it's not really the river turning the wheel that makes the mill go. There's like a lawnmower engine or something, and then they throw a switch. And it was there. Everyone was people go, it's fake. I'm sorry, it was all fake. The water was all brought in. Simi Valley is very dry climate there. So they pumped it in. They set up a whole pumping system.
Well, how about that pond?
Brought in the water, created a fake pond.
How big was that fake pond?
not very big. It was very shallow. And that whole little stream there was not very deep at all. I mean, when I had to squish myself down to splash in, I had to get down on my knees and then lay down in it and come up because it was only a couple of feet.
Wow.
None of it was real. I mean, that's what cracked up. We were visiting the set several years ago. It was I think it was her 40th anniversary. And Charlotte Stewart, who's a marvelous person you should totally have on if you haven't. Charlotte Stewart, who played Miss Beadle. We're walking around a million years later looking at the set, and she goes, "Hey, where's the stream?" And I looked at her and went, "What stream? What are you talking about?" She goes, "The stream. Where's the stream?" I went, "It wasn't real." She was like, "What?" I said, "There was no stream. They turned it on. It came from a tap. They had a series of, and they filled up this whole trench with water. And we went, oh, what a beautiful stream." And then they just turn it off. So at the end of the day, there's nothing there. They took the equipment home. Yeah.
Wow. How to do the scenes? Were you there early morning to late afternoon, or what was that like?
God, yes. Now I was so lucky because with kids, you do have a time limit, thank God, and we did obey the rules on Little House. A lot of shows didn't. You hear lots of horror stories, and they're true, where they just didn't follow the rules at all. But with Little House, thank God we did. So once it was 8 hours plus lunch, and of those 8 hours, 4 hours was actual work on camera, and 3 hours had to be in the schoolroom, and 1 hour had to be at least rest periods of some kind. And when we say schoolroom, any building they could fit some tables in. Sometimes we used the empty schoolhouse on location and just shoved a couple of long tables and some folding metal chairs and went, "There's your room." And we would go in there and do our homework. But so we knew that we'd come in early, but we would at least get out 9 hours later. But sometimes I had to be there at 4 and 5 in the morning. 5 o'clock was not an unusual call. I remember when we got really organized and I didn't have to be at work until 7. I was so excited I could sleep in.
I bet. Hey, we need to take a real quick break. We're going to be back with Alison. We're going to find out a little bit more about Little House on the Prairie. And then we're going to go on to when she started hitting the roads, doing stand-up comedy and everything else. It's going to be fun. So, prop up your feet up on that easy chair, get yourself something warm to drink, put a couple of logs in that fire because it's going to get hot here tonight. You're listening to Night Dreams Talk Radio. I'm the host, Gary. Check out our website at www.nightdreamstalkradio.com.
Coming to you from the Night Dreams Talk Radio Network newsroom, I'm Guy Ticker with A Strange News. Paranormal investigators believe they've spotted the ghost of a little girl who drowned in a mining disaster nearly 200 years ago, with eerie footage appearing to show her floating. I'm Guy Ticker. A Strange News is brought to you by Night Dreams Talk Radio Network. Do you have a strange story? Contact us at nightdreamstalkradio.com. The biggest names, the brightest stars on the red carpet and on the air with Gary Anderson. Ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to the big get, Gary's got him. Like voiceover artist Jim Meskimen. Is his mom really Mrs. C on Happy Days? Alison Arngrim from Little House on the Prairie. Oh, speaking of Little House, Gary's got Dean Butler from the show talking about his book, Prairie Man, My Little House Life, and Beyond.
Here's much more.
Yeah, there is. Check this out. Loretta Swit, Hot Lips Houlihan from MASH. So listen to Gary Anderson, because you never know who's gonna show. That's why we do these promos, right? Gary Anderson, where the stars come out to play. Tune in early, tune in often, right here on the Night Dreams Talk Radio Network. Deep in the Amazon jungle, one man.
Hi, I'm Stan Gordon. Check out the Night Dreams Talk Radio with Gary the Big Guy.
Yeah, let me finish. One man.
Hi, I'm Mark Muncy. Check out Night Dreams Talk Radio with Gary the Big Guy.
Yeah, do you mind? One man, naked and afraid.
I'm losing my mind.
You and me both, sister. One man, Gary the Big Guy. No boats, no lights, no motor cars, not a single luxury.
Hey, any more and you'll have to pay a royalty.
Okay, that's it. Hit it! From the summer vacation studios deep in the Amazon jungle, from that tree right there. See at the top, he's swinging.
I'm losing my mind.
Twice?
All right. Coming to you live, for now, on Night Dreams Talk Radio, naked and afraid, Gary the Big Guy Anderson.
I am back now. JC, can I have my clothes? You hid my clothes again. Well, now, why do you do that? You know, I was swinging on that vine. I come back to get back on the air, and my clothes are gone.
Yeah, well, to keep you on your toes. Somebody's got, well, I mean, come on. Gotta make it interesting.
Now, wait a minute. Now, you can't keep doing that. Anyway, Allison, we're back.
You know, when you just said, wait a minute, you sounded exactly like Jack Benny. That was hilarious.
I'm sorry about that. That's my normal voice.
I went, it's Jack Benny.
Now, Rochester. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's about the only imitation I can do other than my wife yelling at me.
Yeah, well, because you hear it so much, I guess. That's it.
Yeah, it starts about when I wake up till I go to bed. Anyway, you know, working on that show, you know, for all those seasons, 9 seasons, what was your favorite episode?
Well, it is absolutely the one that just everyone talks about it. Is the one Bunny, where I go down the hill in the wheelchair, because Nellie in that one, it's okay. So most of the time she's making Laura's life miserable. She's doing things to ruin Laura's life. But when she falls off this horse and decides, which is totally her fault, because she's like hitting the horse with the riding crop, falls off the horse, slams into a tree branch, and then pretends to be paralyzed, she's actually messing with everybody in town. She is ruining everyone's day. You have Doc Baker, who's now trying to figure out why she can't walk. He doesn't know she's faking, and Mrs. Olson screaming at him. Her parents, poor Mr. and Mrs. Olson. Mr. Olson's crying in the storage room. She totally destroys her parents. Miss Beadle has to put together assignments for her to take over. Charles has to drop what he's doing and go make her a wheelchair. So she drags adults into her little petty drama. She's never done that before. It's always just been people at school. Laura, she drags all the adults in town into her personal little narcissistic thing. And that's some pretty sick stuff for a 13-year-old kid. To pretend to be paralyzed, it's like, what in the world? So that one's incredible. And the fact that I go down the hill in a wheelchair, because no other TV show did this. The Waltons didn't do this, Brady, but who shoves a kid down a hill in a wheelchair into a pond? It's never happened. And then our fabulous 70s technology. So I'm in the chair, I start to go down the hill, then the stunt woman does the down the hill and the backflip, gets in the pond, then I get in the pond and I come up spinning, then we go to another hill, and they have me go down a different hill because it's longer and less steep, so they can get more footage of me screaming without killing me. But there's no seat belts, there's no safety equipment. I'm in my nightgown and bedroom slippers and underwear. Then they edit this all together, and you're going, well, wait, where's she? Okay, that's her, that's not her, that's her. Wait, what just happened? And it looks like I just got thrown into a pond. And then when I hit the tree branch, so I'm riding the horse, and I apparently drive headfirst into a tree branch. Obviously, that's impossible because they would have killed me. How the hell did they do that? There's no CGI. There's no high-tech stuff. I'm sitting on a box, going like Dumpty Dumpty Giddy Up. 2 crew members are holding a sheet of plexiglass in front of me. And the third guy has a tree branch and swings it around and slams it into the plexiglass, and I go, ow, and fall off the box. And for where they put the camera, I watched that thing, and I can't figure out why I don't have a bruise. It's like, how the hell? It looks like it hit me in the face. So we had all this like 1970s version of high-tech stuff all in that episode. It's actually quite incredible.
I got to ask you a question. Only one take where you got on that wheelchair and then you went a couple feet, you got off, the stunt woman got on, and that, or was it a couple takes? She did that
in one take. They said, okay, are you ready? And they went, yep. And she did it down that hill, and she got sailing through the air. I mean, she did a flip and into the pond. I don't know how she didn't hurt. Well, she's a professional. She was a professional. We had really incredible stunt people on that show because you saw how many times we had horse races and people fell off of horses and wagons were tipped over, and we didn't lose anybody. We had amazing stunt people. And so she was able to do that. And then I did have to do a couple of takes when we went to the other hill. They said, we need lots of footage of you screaming, so we have something to edit into all this and make it work. So we're going to put you in this hill. It's not so steep, but it's a hill, and you will be out of control rolling down a hill in an 1800s wheelchair. Hang on. Good luck. Boom, off you go. And so I was screaming bloody murder, and they were like, that was good. That was almost enough. Could you go, but we'll take you back at the top. Just do it a couple more times. Oh, my God. So we did that a couple of times. And they're like, that's great. We have like tons of footage of you screaming for your life. That's really good. We can use that. So they had all this footage and then get in the pond. Now come up spinning. Okay, excellent. So let's get several angles of that. And so they had enough to work with to create this thing where just you can't tell what's happening. It's genius.
Now, when you were screaming, was that real screaming or fake screaming?
A little both. I mean, on the one hand, it's like, okay, I'm playing this character who's screaming because I'm going downhill wheelchair, but there was nothing holding me in the chair. It's this old rickety wooden chair, and I'm like 13, and I am literally in a little cotton nightgown and underwear and bedroom slippers, and nothing else. No padding. There's no seat belt. There's no restraints. Oh, and I have a real broken arm, because the thing where my arm's broken in the show, I broke my arm skateboarding a couple weeks before, and I still had the cast. So they said, we'll shoot around, we'll figure it out, we'll put an 1800s cast over it, we'll just write it in. So I'm bouncing around going, guys, I have a real broken arm. If this thing tips over, I can't stop it. I can't grab away. I can't brace myself. I will just fall to the ground and like break the other arm. I know that as cute as this is, that at least I'm on the big hill and they're all having a great time. Like, oh, this is great. She's great. If I fall out of that chair, it tips over, I'm toast. I am going to get hurt very, very badly for real if I don't stay in that chair. So yes, there was some actual screaming involved.
Was there any bets going on behind the scene? Hey, is she going to fall and break her other arm?
It's like, let's see if she... Well, Michael did tease me. He autographed my cast. I had to come in when my agent had to call them and say, I hate to tell you this, guys, but she broke her arm. And they're like, we start shooting in a couple days. What were you thinking? Oh, my God. And they said, okay, we'll move it around. We'll shoot the episode and we'll just put a fake cast over it. And then we'll shoot this other... And then we'll shoot the other episode, the race, and we'll do the thing. And she'll have the smaller cast by then. We'll just kind of like work around it. So I said, we can do this. And so Michael autographs my cast. And it was just pretty cool. I should have kept it. And he says, okay, and you're not going to skateboard anymore for the rest of the season, right? And I said, right. And he said, or I'll break the other arm. So I said, okay, I have to be very careful. But yeah, that was the problem, is you had to be careful. I mean, we were pretty lax. I mean, some child actors have no fun at all. On Little House, we were allowed to be ourselves and have some fun, but we had to be terribly careful because they're like, guys, you go knock out a tooth or break an arm. You do realize we have a show to make. You can't show up in a cast with missing teeth. You can't injure yourself the way you would if you were just a regular kid. We got bruises to go. You can't do that. You have to remain all in one piece so we can make the damn show.
Well, I got to ask you a question. I was skateboarding, believe it or not, when I was like 10 years old, and I used to be known as Big White at one point. I was really into skateboarding, going down bowls and everything. In fact, we even owned a indoor skate park here back a few years ago. But how long did you skateboard for? And what type of skateboarding were you doing?
I remember I got this. I started with a wooden board. It was one of those ones that said like Black Knight on it with the thing big old wooden boards. There's boards now. They're nothing like they were then. It's like people go, what the hell is this? If they saw the 70s boards, enormous things. And it was very cool. It's just like from the drugstore. And I rode that thing. I rode it to school because I could go down the hill to the bus stop, just get on it and just roll. And so I was using it like a car as a means of transportation and riding it around. And I was very basic. God, I don't think we had skate parks yet. I was like, it wasn't a thing yet. But I rode it around parking lots, and I did very few tricks. I could kind of do the thing. I could do the spin thing and kind of almost get it to flip like once, maybe. But like that was it. No big jumps. And I was being really cautious too because, I was trying not to break my arm. So I was being really careful. And that's what was so sad. I had gotten a new one, which was very modern. It was blue, and it was that special polymer plastic thing with the silent wheels. That was fantastic. But, it wasn't as stable as the wooden one. So I'm standing on it, and I actually was standing in the parking lot, and I had paused to think about what I was going to do next. And I was standing still, and I tipped over. Just tipped over, wasn't even doing anything good, just fell over. And, of course, back in those days, who wore a helmet? I had no helmet, I had no wrist pads, I had no knee pads. I just fell over and slammed into the pavement. And I slammed my arm down to kind of spare my head. I had a huge, big, blue, purple bruise on my head, kind of like the one I wound up with in the show.
Yeah, I wonder.
I scraped up my knee, but my arm took the brunt of it, my left arm, and I slammed it down and fractured my wrist. Got a big old cast.
Wow.
It was back in the day, the big plaster things. They don't even do that anymore, thank God.
Now, I got another question, and then we're going to get into what you did after Little House on the Prairie. Did you have a hard time dating at all? Because, I mean, let's face it, you had, everybody was scared of you. You had a temper. You'd be in the kitchen, right? And you'd be making pies, and all of a sudden you would just get all upset.
I was horrifying, and they also talked about Nellie like she wasn't pretty. I mean, thank God Percival showed up and said I was pretty, because they kept talking about all the boys would go, ugh, that Nellie Oleson. And I remember my aunt saying, well, she's actually kind of cute, and the girls and dressed kind of pretty. How come all the boys keep going, ew, like she's physically ugly? She's not physically ugly. She's just obnoxious. But it was difficult because I could only date people who didn't watch the show. And I did. I would meet young guys. I could do watch Lost Prairie. No, great, terrific. When you want to go out, because if they watched the show, they had that in their heads, and they either were completely freaked out and wanted nothing to do with me. I don't really remember young men in their teens and 20s who watched the show saying, "Oh boy, I want to go out asking me out." Like, no, it was just immediately like, "Ew, why would I ask her? Are you crazy?" Or if they did, they were like a crazy fan. I used to say they either don't want to go out with me or they want me to wear the wig. So it was like I could get weirdos. So I just
wait a minute. Now, wait a minute.
Oh, I got some weird mail. Oh, let me tell you, they were out there. They were out there. They sent me weird letters. So I just like, oh, hell no. And in fact, my husband, Bob, just celebrated our 30th wedding anniversary. He said, I knew of the show, and I'd kind of seen that it was on, and he said, I remember going, oh, the girl with the ringlet, she's cute, that's nice. He said, but I was older and a boy. I was out of the house. I wasn't sitting home watching Little House on the Prairie. He said I was out doing things and getting in trouble and being a delay. I would watch Little House on the Prairie. He said, so he didn't see it really until we were married. We sat down. He had to sit down and watch like several episodes so he knew what was going on at the reunion parties.
Very interesting. Now, you were wearing a wig in that?
So when we first started, and when I was coming in at 4 a.m, I had to sleep in curlers. They said, oh, yeah, you got to have the ringlets. I'm like, my hair is so straight. What are we going to do? So I show up, I go to bed in curlers. And my mother had to curl my hair. And my poor mother, she did not know anything about curling hair. She was not this kind of person. She didn't cook. She didn't clean. She didn't do hair. And my father would do that. She was like, no, I don't curl hair. So she got some mother told her how to do it. One of the other stage mothers. We get these curlers, and you get this Pantene setting lotion. So my poor mother putting my hair up in rollers, and I'd sleep in curlers at 12 and come in an ungodly hour in the morning, and then they would curl it with the curling irons, and it was a real hassle, and it was very uncomfortable. So they said, this can't go on. Also, the heat. The curls, they would come down. It was hot. It was humid. They wouldn't stay curled. So they said, this is ridiculous. Let's get a wig. So they brought in this famous wig maker, Ziggy Geico, wig maker to the stars. And he and the main hairdresser, Larry, they built this wig. They said, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to do that. We have real human hair. We're going to match it exactly to our head. And they constructed and designed this really elaborate wig. And it looked great. Like I said, there was a wig. It stayed perfectly curled. You could go down a hill in a wheelchair. You could be in a mud fight. You could roll around on the ground. Those curls were not coming out, which was great. But in order to stay on my head there was a giant metal comb in the front that just had jammed into your scalp, and I lost count of how many hairpins. So it was one of the most excruciatingly painful things you could have on your head.
I bet. Now, from there, how did you get into stand-up comedy?
So I'm on this crazy show, and it's going great guns. But, my father was a manager, and he was working with a lot of stand-up comics. And there's a marvelous group called the Village Idiots, a comedy group. They were on Don Kirshner's. Do you remember Don Kirshner's rock concert?
Oh, yeah.
That they were on. They were the comedy group on that. Brilliant people. They all went on to big things. Jan Fisher wrote the movie The Lost Boys. Peter Jurasik became a big movie star. They all did it. Well, he was working with all these comics, and he had been saying, you need to do something beside the show. You have to, if you go on talk shows. At one point, they said, well, perhaps I should sing. I was like, I do not sing. We are not putting out an album. This is not happening. And they were trying to think what to do. So I was at a club, because I went to see all these clients and friends of my dad, and I was giving this comic kind of a hard time, and he said, if you think this is so easy, you should try it. Oh, the light bulb went off. I had been dared. So I met with the guys from the Village Idiots, with Jan and Robin and Mark and Peter, and they said, okay, you're 15. What do we do? I think we can do this. And we wrote a stand-up act. And 2 days later, I was on stage. And within a couple of weeks, I was at the Improv and the Comedy Store and the Laugh Factory. I started working when I was 15, 16 years old, sometimes 4 nights a week. I would do stand-up all over town. And I started going on the road when I was 16, 17. Which was totally bizarre, but it turned out this was something I actually had an aptitude for. And so I was like, oh my God, I'm a teenage stand-up comic. And it was hard because sometimes I also was doing theater. There were times I'd be up late at rehearsal, or I'd be at the Comedy Store terribly late, and then have to get up and go to work in the morning. It was this hellacious schedule. And then doing my homework and going to school. I was 16, it was nuts. But it progressed, and then in 2002, I wound up changing everything and doing all true stories, this whole one-woman show. A friend of mine said, I love your act, but the stories you tell afterwards in the bar are even funnier. So I wound up doing this. I was asked to come to Club Fez. They said, you have to do an hour and a half. I'm like, oh my God. So now I have the show, all true stories from my life, and a question and answer segment where they can ask me anything they want.
Very interesting.
It's hysterical.
Wow. And you do what? You do Facebook, YouTube, all this others. Where do you get all this energy?
I don't know. Today I was running around shopping because I'm mailing people cheese. I had to get the boxes, I had to get my nails done. I'm going to the daytime Emmys tomorrow night. I don't know how I do it.
Wow. Did you take Geritol at your age?
I know, I really should. Where's the Geritol when you need it? Are they still selling that stuff?
I don't know. I need some.
It's funny because I'm turning 62 in January, and I spend so much time in France doing shows there. I'm thinking of calling next year the "If I Lived in France, I'd Be Retired by Now" tour.
How do you like going and performing in France?
Oh God, I love it. Well, I went there in the early 2000s. I went to France to do a talk show. They said, well, come be on this talk show. I said, great, terrific. And I knew they watched Little House. I'd gotten fan mail from there, and I knew it was on in other countries. I didn't know the absolute craziness of the fan base in France. I get there to do this talk show, and everyone is just nuts. It's just, oh, my God, you're here. And they're making such a fuss over me. And then I come out on stage, and the studio audience starts singing the theme song to Little House on the Prairie. There are no words to the theme song to Little House on the Prairie.
I never
They're
thought
all sitting there going, la, 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 la. These crazy people, I'm telling you.
And I bet you enjoyed it.
Well, I was floored. I went, okay, this is nuts. They're all going, la, 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 la. This is like some kind of cult. They're obsessed with the show. And I found out very quickly, I went, French people really like Little House. Well, it turns out it started running there pretty early. It ran every day at lunch. A lot of people in France, still very traditional, will go home for lunch. Kids will come home from school for lunch. So they were all watching it every day at noon for generations. So everyone in the country has seen every single episode.
And probably seen it about 300 times each, I can tell you that.
They are absolutely obsessed, and so I get there and they're like, "Oh no, you don't understand. We love you, we love you." And of course, they like Nellie Oleson, or as I say, they don't think she's mean. They think she's French. And because they do. They like the bad girls. So I said, "Well, I gotta get in on this." And then I met this crazy, wonderful guy, this guy Patrick. He said, "We can do a French version of your show. I can write this. We can do this. We can make this happen." And I've been going now, like at least twice a year, like all of March, all of October, and doing 6, 7 shows back to back all over the countryside. I'm heading there again in March. I have a new show. We did the one, Le Malle au Tresors, and Confession du Garce, and now we have Nellie Oleson, En Flamme, les années 80. And it's all about Nellie Oleson sets fire to the 80s. It's with 80s nostalgia and music and game show parodies and stuff about Little House on the Prairie. But we have like everything in it. It's just everything. And lots of audience participation. It's very crazy. And the whole thing's in French.
So I take it you speak French and not Pig Latin.
Oui, je parle français. C'est nécessaire. Je fais un spectacle en français maintenant.
I don't even know what you said, but I hope it was nice about me.
I said, well, I spoke French. It's necessary. Now I do a whole show in French now. So there you go.
Wow. What is your future? What's also coming up? I know that there's going to be a big reunion. You know, we have Dean coming on our show here in the near future.
Oh, Dean is he's got a book coming out, and I've read it, and I can tell you it's good. I've read his book and wrote a foreword, and it's marvelous. And it's going to be very popular with the ladies because they'll love him. He's still cute. All these women are in love with Almanzo, and Dean Butler is still absolutely adorable, even now. And so the women all swoon and carry on. But we're having, it's the 50th anniversary. Next year, 50th anniversary, Little House on the Prairie, and everyone's going crazy. We have a huge event in Simi, the ranch. I've been going on here about this Big Sky Ranch in Simi. We're literally throwing a party, an event there. People can come to Simi and take a little bus up to the ranch, see where we filmed, and then down at the main center, we've got a whole thing set up where there's going to be autographs and panels, and it's going to be this huge, monstrous stuff. They're going to recreate some of the sets. They're building stuff while I tell you this. They're literally, as I speak, building recreations of sets. Is going to be absolutely off the wall, and it's the 50th. And then we have a thing in Walnut Grove, Minnesota, and then there's a thing there's a place called Patty's 1800s in Kentucky. We got an event there. We're going to Branson, Missouri in November. There's a whole series of events. Independence, Kansas, Missouri, Patty's in Kentucky, all over the country, where different prairie-themed Western places are throwing 50th anniversary parties and whole clumps. Some of them it's like 5 cast members, some it's 10 cast members, 8 cast members. Simi and Walnut Grove will probably have the most. But it's going to go on all year. We've even got stuff going on in France. And then I'm doing my show in L.A. at the Sierra Madre Playhouse. I've got 6 shows there. I'm going to be in May. I'll be in New York, again at the Laurie Beachman. I'm performing my stand-up show all over while we're doing these prairie things. And then there's a movie coming out. I made a movie a couple of months ago called Buster Brooks. It's very silly. I do kind of play a mean person. I'm the mean cafe owner. Last movie I did for this woman, I played the evil band manager. I still play a lot of evil people. But it's a very silly movie. It's a wonderful send-up parody of all the Hollywood wanna-be-a-star movies. It's this young farm boy who is so naive. Okay, he's kind of stupid. And he comes to Hollywood with a pet rooster and wants to become a star in time to save the family farm. And it's freaking hysterical. I was reading the script and laughing out loud going, this is the silliest thing I've ever read. So I'm in Buster Brooks. I'm in Living on a Prairie. I've got my stand-up show. I've got the 8 million 50th anniversary parties all over the country. I just put up the whole list on my Facebook page. But okay, this is a partial list because a couple of them we don't have tickets on sale yet, so I can't put them. But this is and it goes on. It's 2 pages. And I haven't even listed several that we're probably doing that just haven't gone on sale yet.
Now, wait a minute. Alison, do you ever have time to see your husband doing all this?
Right? Well, he's in the living room now. Now, he's going to come along to 1 or 2 things. There's a couple of things, okay, I'll come to that. I mean, he's going to be there with us and see me. He might come to Walnut Grove. He'll come to things occasionally. I mean, when I got a gig in Maui in Hawaii, he said, oh, yeah, I'm coming with you to that.
Yeah,
He'll come to Paris,
Yeah, I would too. I got to ask you a question. Our time is just going by so fast. What happened?
God, yes, quick.
What did Michael Landon do to the set of Little House on the Prairie? What happened to it? A lot of people want to know.
last episode, the whole thing's going to go, that's it, we're done, we're going to do these little TV movies, wrap it all up. How do I end this? How do I end this? How on earth do you end this show? I think all this, how do I wrap up all the loose ends? And so this episode where that these land grabbers have come in and said, we bought it out from under you, it's ours now, and we get all these lovely businesses and buildings. And so they said, well, maybe no, you don't. What if we level the place? Screw you. So we thought, what a great idea. And then I blow up the set. Because the Big Sky Ranch people said, well, you can't leave all that here. And if you do leave it here, we're all going to use it. All the other TV shows and movies who come traipsing in will say, well, we'll have that little house. Oh, let's use the church. And Michael said, I'm not having them make a slasher murder movie in the little house. I'm not having them do some sex comedy, Porky's Revenge in the church. He said, think of the things people might make using our little house or the mercantile or the church. That's horrible. He said, I'd be paying for everyone's therapy across America. No, we can't do this. He said, we have to take the set with us. We can't leave it here. They will use it for other stuff. They'll destroy the whole thing. The only way to save it is to blow it up.
Wait a minute. So they did a blow job on it.
They did a blow job. They said the old terrible one where we had to destroy the village in order to save it. This is literally what happened. He said, okay, we're going to blow it up. So they blew up all the buildings. They wrote something where the people blow them up so that when the people come in who grab the land, they get nothing. They get nothing. There's no mercantile. It's all flat. But they blew up the set. And literally, when they shot it, they shot one day where you see everyone getting ready to blow it, and then they told everybody to go home and spend a whole couple of days, just the crew and the safety people and the fire people, blowing up the buildings and shooting that. And then everybody came in the next day when it was all leveled, and they shot that scene because it was unsafe. They said, you can't be here. We're going to kill somebody with this thing. They blew up the set, and it's a traumatic episode. A couple of the actors from the show have told me, I can't watch it. I'll never watch it. I can't watch that. I can't watch them blow up the building. Now, to his credit, Michael said, I am not going to blow up the little house. We will dismantle it. We will take it away. And I'm also not going to blow up the church. We will take that apart and put it on a truck because they said, I am not going to go down in history as a guy who blew up a church on Little House on the Prairie. I'm not doing it. So he said, I draw the line at blowing up the church and the little house. And he dismantled the little house. And one of the actors, a really nice guy named Stan Ivar, said, well, what are you going to do with it? He said, I don't know. He said, aren't you going to keep it? And Michael says, where will I put it? I'm sorry, I don't have room for this in my house. And Stan said, I do. I got a little ranch up in California. And so they loaded it on a truck, and it wound up at Stan's house in his barn. Now, I wish I could say, oh, my God, it's totally there. But just recently, Stan and the guys went over, took a look, and they said, that's the problem. It's been 50 years. If it would have been some air-cooled basement, but, the glass got broken and some of the wood got warped. And Stan was all for it. He was like, hey, we can put it back together, maybe we can put it up. But he's like, yeah. They went and looked at it and said, I think we're going to have to start from scratch if we're recreating this building because it's been 50 years. No matter, it's just not going to last. You couldn't have kept it for 50 years no matter what you did. But he tried. He did at least make sure they didn't blow it up. But, yeah, it was incredible. They blew up the set. So when people say, I want to go out to where you shot and see the sets, you can't.
That's like going out and see where the MASH was filmed, on location.
Right?
They left a couple vehicles there, and that was it. That's all there.
And they're all rusty and gone. So what we're doing for this crazy event in March in LA is there's this marvelous artist, Orlando de La Paz, and he has painted these. They're like 3D when you look at them. And there's going to be these huge flats with recreations, these paintings of the mercantile, the school, the house, all over exactly where they were. So you can take a picture and go, there's the thing. It's right here. Relive the whole thing. And then back at our main center where we're doing the whole party, they're going to recreate a couple of the sets. So you'll be able to walk into the little house. So they're building this stuff. They're working all night. They're building this stuff as I talk to you. And so we're going to recreate a lot of the old stuff and the sets and the things, so we will be able to see them because sadly people come and go, there's nothing there. So we're gonna bring it all back. We're going to make Walnut Grove come back alive for the 50th.
It sounds so awesome and all that. And again, because we're out of time, can you let people know how they can find any whatever you want to promote? You go ahead.
Come get me. I have a website called bonnetheads.com, BONNETHEADS, bonnetheads.com, all you bonnet heads. I have a store. If you go to the Bonnet Head site, you can click on the thing where I will happily sell you a bonnet. Also, you can get my book, Confessions of a Prairie Bitch. You can get all kinds of stuff. I have stuff you can buy. I got T-shirts. You can get everything. And then I am on Facebook, really easy. I'm Alison Arngrim. There's the official Alison Arngrim fan page, and there's me, Alison Arngrim. There's the Alison Arngrim Show. It's all me. And I just put up a list of my 8 billion events, so you can see it there. You can also sign up for the Nellie newsletter, where once a month you get an email keeping you apprised of my location and the rest of the cast. So I'm so easy. I'm on Instagram. I'm Alison Arngrim there. I'm on TikTok. I'm the easiest person to find in the world. So, Google me, as they say.
And if you're in France, you want to go see her too, don't you?
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's Alison-Arngrim. There's a French website. You Google Alison Arngrim in France, and you can find the French website, and you can come to my shows in France.
Well, Alison, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show. Can you do Can you do me one favor? We got.
Oh, I don't know what you want.
Okay, I want you to stick your tongue out and curl it at the listeners.
Okay, see, how are they going to know?
They have to use their imagination.
I am one of those people. Yes, there's fabulous pictures of me sticking my tongue out, and yes, I can curl it. I am one of those people. I can tie a knot in a maraschino cherry stem. I actually can do that. So there you go.
Yeah. Don't let your husband know, or does he already know? I'm not going to go there.
Why do you think we've been married 30 years? What? Hello.
Well, Alison, again, I want to thank you so much for being on the show. And, again, everybody check out the reruns of Little House on the Prairie. Check out her Facebook page. I watched her quite a bit on Facebook, and I can tell you it's certainly better than watching my own show. Anyway, Alison. Yeah, we put T-shirts up for sale on my show a couple years ago, and we sold one.
Oh, heavens. Well, I've sold more than that. I have great T-shirts.
Okay, great. Alison, you take care, okay?
You too. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for being on.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. Well, JC, what do we have on tomorrow? Who do we have on? What are we going to be talking about?
We have Fred Roll. Fred Roll is going to be on as our guest.
You're breaking up.
How about now?
You're breaking up.
It's still breaking up.
You're breaking up.
It's breaking up.
Yeah, your signal's breaking up.
Every time.
Yeah, you're breaking up. Did you pay your internet bill?
I did. I think I paid it twice.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I kept telling you, stop using that pen that the ink disappears after 24 hours. Why do you do that?
I got the wrong pen. It's still breaking up.
Anyway, we're going to be talking about Bigfoot tomorrow. And who's the guest?
Fred Roll. He's going to be, listen, they're talking about the hairy man in Alaska, and they're not friendly up there. They're kind of, dangerous.
In other words, they might even eat you.
They may.
They might tear you apart limb from limb.
Yes, they will put you over the shoulder and walk away, Gary. And they've been known to wreck a car or two.
Or 3. How about a semi-truck?
Oh, yeah. Semi trucks, too.
And tomorrow, don't forget, after, we have our guest on, we're going to take call-ins. So if you want to talk about time travel, pecan pie, I want a recipe for pecan pie. If somebody wants to put that up tomorrow in chat, or even call in and give us a recipe about pecan pie, that would be awesome. And whatever you want to talk about, like what are you buying your kids or your spouse or grandkids for Christmas? What is it like shopping this year? Are people spending as much money as last year? Is the stores all crazy? I can tell you a lot of road rage is going on. I heard it from my wife today. I heard it from my son, and his fiance told me the same thing. The roads are crazy. People are driving like nuts.
Yeah, listen, people are on edge. You definitely don't want to get in some road rage, Gary. You need to be careful out there, too.
Oh, yeah. Big shout out to Mary from New Zealand. Believe me, that's right next to Nebraska, isn't it? And then we have, Space Case is out there, Kim, naturally, and Tom, Metatron Power and Light, and June Gypsy, and everybody else out there. I just want to say, thank you for tuning in. And you know what? Let me know if you like the show. We're kind of tweaking it. on Thursdays, like every other Thursday, we're going to have somebody as a celebrity on. And we're just going to have a laid-back, fun show. Why? Because I'm the host of the show and you have no say. That's that. What do you say about that, buddy?
I'm sticking my tongue out, but you just can't see it.
I know. We don't have the camera on with you. But you got to stop bringing these damn chickens and farm animals into the studio. You know what? I hate cleaning up after them.
No, you don't.
I hate it. You know what it's like when you got a rooster go around, and it's pecking on everything? And I can't believe when you brought the goat in, I still have 2 chairs in here that I have to replace the cushions on because it ate half the cushions.
Listen, look at all the Cocoa Puffs you get to eat from the goats.
Yeah, my kids pulled that on me years ago. Hey, Dad, this is the new cereal. It's like Cocoa Puffs or Cocoa Krispies or whatever it was, right?
Chocolate.
Yeah. They had the milk on it. They had sugar on it. They had strawberries on it. And I took one bite and I realized what they did.
Yeah, high fiber.
Yeah, well, a lot of protein, I guess, too, if you want to eat shit.
Refiber, yeah.
Yeah. No worse than my one son, though, that was barbecuing, and he dropped the steak. And he thought I would get mad at him. So instead of going in the kitchen and rinsing it off on the sink, no, he walks down the stairs, step by step, down to the fish pond. Okay, which is green in color. Now, I'm not talking about the pond itself. It's what's in it is green.
All the fish poop too.
That too, and he sit there and rinsed. I didn't know this. Everybody told me after I ate my steak, and then when he rinsed the steak off in the fish pond and then barbecued it.
You wouldn't be more mad at that than him dropping it, by no means.
Well, anyway, check out our website at www.nightdreamstalkradio.com. I'm taking off next Wednesday and Thursday. We will be back Friday. Who's our guest next Friday?
Sidney Kirkpatrick, and he is going to be talking about Edgar Casey and all the stuff that he has done in his lifetime.
That's going to be really interesting. And then we're going to take call-ins. So, we're getting close to Christmas.
Yeah, you better believe it. Matter of fact, next Friday will be the last show before Christmas.
Yeah, I know. I'm excited. I know what I'm going to get this year.
Are you going to get a chicken?
No, I'm not going to get a chicken. And I'm not going to get a box of condoms. I don't need them at my age. I am going to get underwear. It never fails. Every Christmas I get socks and underwear. And they say, well, hey, Gary, we love you, but you need to cut back eating candy. What do they give me for Christmas? Every fattening thing like sausages, different candies, almond roca, all this fattening stuff, and they give it to me for Christmas. And then if I don't eat it, they get upset. But yet, and then, we'll have pies like lemon meringue pie. We'll have pumpkin pie. We'll have a lot of ice cream and all that stuff for Christmas. And then they're saying, well, gee, you can't eat it, Dad, because you're fat.
Yeah, what's wrong with you, Dad? Come on.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to jump out of here. Again, everybody out there, Mary in New Zealand. I wonder what the weather's like in New Zealand.
It's summertime.
Well, I can tell you what it's like. In the morning, it's light, and then towards the afternoon, it gets darker, and at night, it's dark.
It's summer there, so it's hot.
Yeah. Something. Well, till we catch you on tomorrow. What am I saying? Next Friday. We'll catch you tomorrow night. We're going to talk with Fred Royal about, Bigfoot. Killer Bigfoot, that is. So it's going to be really good. Again, make sure you give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Make sure you share it to your friends and tell them that subscribe on YouTube, or they can listen to us on Apple, but we really need to get YouTube up. Everybody have a good one.
Who's friends with all the night dreamers talking to you at night? Gary on the radio, but maybe he's not inside. Bigfoot's on his tail, flying UFOs, that's right. Gary's talk show radio, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday night. If you need a friend to talk to, he will will always be there. The Night Dreamers Talk Show will fix your despair. If you wanna talk conspiracies, Night Dreamers is for you. Top secret case, alien space, it's Gary with the news. Tune in on the radio, don't let Big Brother know. They're listening to everything, even Gary's late night show. If you need a friend to talk to, he will always be there. The Night Show Dreamers Talk Show will fix your despair, because Gary's talking to you